Hello. Thank you so much for letting me be part of the Earth and Environmental Geoscience Careers event. I'll just start by introducing myself. My name is Kelsey Prox, and I graduated with a degree in Earth Sciences and Geography in 2010. Currently, I am working for an environmental consulting firm called EXP Services Inc. I work for the environmental department, but we have lots of other different departments, infrastructure, engineering. It's kind of endless, but I work for the environmental portion of that. I had a look through the questions that were given to us, so I'm just gonna start going through them. They're all pretty good, so I'll try to give you a good idea of what I do and how my experience has been so far in my career, and yeah, we'll go from there. So the first question is, how did you decide on this career? So I actually kind of fell into it. I did start my career in the mining industry when I graduated. And I worked in the Arctic, I worked in Manitoba, I worked in Northern Ontario, and then 2012 came and I kind of gold tanked and I lost my job and that sort of thing. But realistically, I was flying all over Canada and I really wanted to be closer to home. So I got my foot in the door in environmental. It has a really good work-life balance, I would say, my career does. A good balance of office work and also field work. And project scopes are always changing, so it really keeps you on your toes and it keeps you really interested. And yeah, so now I'm an environmental scientist. So the second question is, what challenges did you face getting your first job? Okay, that's a big one. So it was really tough at first. It's kind of, you kind of need to know people. That's my best answer to that question. I was lucky and I knew someone who was working for like the mining company I was working for. And then when I got my first job in environmental, that wasn't until 2015. So I started my mining career in 2011, and then I had to go back to school. So I took the program at Niagara College. It's a post-grad program. It's 8 months long, and it's called Environmental Management and Assessment. And it kind of just teaches you everything you need to know to be an environmental consultant. And then I got my job through a placement that I had when I was actually at Brock. I did an internship at a company called AMEC, and then I did an internship at EXP through my Niagara College placement. So I actually did work for both companies for a certain amount of time. So my advice to the current students to improve their chances of getting a job is basically network. It's honestly, sometimes it comes down to who you know rather than your resume. Normally I would recommend dropping off a resume at a company, but because of COVID and the stuff that's happening right now, that's probably not the best idea. But yeah, just reach out to people. I know there's like LinkedIn, and maybe your professors know certain contacts. This is a good opportunity through the Exploring Careers event to reach out to some of us as well. But yeah, sometimes it comes down to who you know, unfortunately. The third question here is, what types of jobs have you had and what did you like about them? So as I touched on earlier, my first job was as a mining consultant for a company called Flaggate Exploration. So I did that. I worked at different gold mines in Canada, and I was basically logging a lot of core. It was production core, so it was core that sometimes had gold in it, so that was pretty exciting. And it was a great opportunity to travel the country and get to know different people from different provinces and that sort of thing. So that was a great first job. And then I took the program at Niagara, and then I worked for AMEC, who at the time I was working there was called AMEC Foster Wheeler, and now it has been obtained by another company, and it's now called Wood. So I worked there for about 18 months, and it wasn't a great fit for me. I didn't really mesh in with the group I was working with, and there was an opportunity at EXP to come back, and I took it, and I've been there ever since. It will be 5 years now that I've been there, and yeah, I absolutely love it. Like I said, it's a great mix between office and field work, and you get to work on lots of different projects, and yeah, it's just been a great experience thus far. I've learned so much in the 5 years that I've been there. So what does a typical day look like for you in your current job? So like I said, there's a great mix between office and field work. The thing is, you have to be really flexible if you're not working in the office. So some days I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive somewhere in the GTA. Or you could be on a plane flying to a different province to do those sort of things. So what I really work on and what I focus on, they're called Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessments. So Phase 1 assessments are basically a historical review of the property that you're working on. And basically you're trying to figure out if there was any potential for contamination at that site. And then if there was, or if there had been any sort of flags anywhere surrounding the property, then we would recommend a Phase 2. And in Phase 2, that means we're soil sampling. We're drilling wells to test the water, and we're using all kinds of equipment to get the water out, to sample the soil. And it's sometimes they're really long days. So sometimes you're working 12 hours, and then you have to pack up your samples to get them to the lab. And it can be really, really busy, but it's really, really rewarding. And then sometimes that can lead to remediation. So if we find impacts in the soil, then we could be out there with an excavator. There's in situ sort of procedures that can be done as well. And then sometimes it's like really easy. So it's taking your notes and going back to the office and writing up reports, which can sometimes be a little tedious, but once you get good at them, you can kind of tackle them pretty fast. And then some days it's as easy as counting trucks off of a site that are removing soil from a property. So it's a really, really good mix, and it keeps you on your toes, and everything's always changing in environmental. So it's been really, really good. Let's see the next question. What are you most proud of in your work? So I kind of touched on the things that I do in the last question. And I think what I'm most proud of is when you start a project and you start off in a Phase 1, and you basically do everything from start to finish. You go to the site, you do the interview with the people, you write the report, you suggest a Phase 2, and then usually if you did the Phase 1, they'll put you on the same job. So then you're looking at the soil, looking for certain impacts that you found in your previous work. And sometimes it goes all the way to remediation, and so basically you know this site so well and you've seen it from start to finish, and sometimes they're developed into housing complexes, or they might be changing the land use, so they might be going from an industrial type setting to a residential setting. And it's just really interesting to see it all from start to finish, from your first report to what the property ends up being. And I guess just recognition from colleagues when you do a good job, as well as you always feel really proud when someone notices the hard work that you've put in. And then also teaching, like I have been there for 5 years now, so I've taught a lot of the technicians that are new to the company and taught them all the skills that I've learned. And yeah, so it's forever changing, and I'm really proud to work in this industry. So the next one, what challenges or obstacles do you encounter during your work? So in terms of field work, basically what can go wrong will go wrong. Sometimes you have a day to drill 3 holes and it ends up taking you 3 or 4 days. So you have to kind of be quick thinking on your feet. Troubleshooting in the field, we work with equipment, and sometimes the equipment is not the best and it breaks, and then you kind of have to figure out how to fix it. And so fieldwork is definitely probably the biggest challenge when it comes to environmental consulting. You got to be quick on your toes, basically is what I'm trying to say. The next question, do you feel that your degree generally prepared you for your career? So I would say yes, in a lot of ways. I know you've probably been writing so many reports, but that's really, really good, because I write reports all the time, and it's those hard skills in terms of knowing how to write a scientific report that have helped me with my writing skills, and and just background, right? So the basics in earth sciences and geoscience, so soil types and that sort of thing. I know the hard rock stuff was more important when I was working in mining, but I don't look at that as much. However, because I have that background, I've been able to help out with the people that do the geotechnical work. So we're looking at rock and coring rock, so I know how to do all the different measurements that they need in terms of building a really, really tall building and making sure we have like the support that we need and that sort of thing. So earth science has helped me out and has really allowed me to work in different areas in my company. I've done a lot of hydrogeology work as well. So it's really, really helped. So I'm not in just like one specific area. I'm not just always writing phase 1 reports. I kind of get to do a lot of everything, which has been really eye-opening, and then I can train others to do the same. So it's been really great. Advice for students to be better prepared in their career. So you're already doing a good job by picking earth science. I think I do know a lot of people that have been able to get jobs in their field, which is great. So just, you gotta practice your writing skills a lot, and your social skills too, right? Field note taking is a big thing in my industry, and I know if you've taken like the earth science field course, you have a pretty good handle on that as well. So good job so far. What are some relevant skills that you developed outside of formal education? So how I answer this question, I would say like any business that you're going to work for, any company that you're going to work for, how should I word this? So basically every business is a service industry. So we provide reports and different services to specific people. So any job that you've had in customer service will really help you out. A lot of the clients are smaller clients, so if they really like you or they really like your work, then they'll come back to you time and time again. Other skills that I've developed is like, you just got to listen, just open your ears. There's a lot of people that have been in this industry a lot more than I have, and yeah, it's really good to listen to how things were when they were doing it, and ask questions too. So after you're done all that listening, you can definitely ask questions. There's always someone that will have more experience with you or have a different experience than you've had, and yeah, they can provide you with a lot of information, and you can learn a lot. Just to switch back to the advice for current students, I just checked my notes and I have a few more things written down. If you're in co-op, that's great. I know things might not be perfect right now in terms of co-op, but even if you could get a summer job in this sort of field, that's really, really good to get your skills up to par. Knowing environmental regulations, if you're specifically wanting to work in environmental, there's reports that are a CSA standard. There's like, if you ever want to do some not so light reading, you can read Ontario Regulation 15304, which talks all about phase 1 and 2 environmental site assessments, and even more like remediation, sampling. If you want to get into an industry like that, if you know that regulation really well, you'll be able to answer any questions that an interviewer would ask you. That one is like, it's like the Bible of geoscience. Okay, so how important is becoming a PGO member in your job? So it's important if you want to grow within a position. So there aren't very many people in management or higher that don't have their PGO or their PEng, right? When you have those designations, they allow you to be something called a QP, so a qualified person, and they can sign off on reports and that sort of thing. There's also something that comes after you complete a phase 1 or 2. Sometimes you have to file for a record of site condition when you're making a property, when you want to turn a property from commercial or industrial to something like residential or community use. There's filing of RSCs that we do all the time, and you turn those into the government, right? And you have to be a QP in order to do that, to sign off on them. My advice on becoming a PGO member, like if you want to climb within your position, you have to do it. Get your GIT if you have the courses that you're able to. If you don't consider, or if you don't have all the courses that you need, go back and take them. Right now you're in school, so take them right now. And I should speak from experience because I went back. I've yet to get my PGO, but it's something that I'm working towards right now. I have the experience and everything. I just have to sit down and write my work experience record. Do I see the my career changing or this profession changing in the future? I would say not really. I think if anything, regulations may get more stringent in terms of the environment. And in terms of job market, it's really good. I always see positions popping up online. I get an email from Indeed every week, and there's always positions. Just stay on top of things and hunt for those jobs, right? In terms of this career being competitive, or this sort of position being competitive, it is. However, sometimes it's who you know. So we just hired 2 of our interns that we had through Niagara College last year. And I think there's about 5 of us that have taken the program at Niagara College and are now working for EXP. And is there a need? So yes, and I would say the turnover is quite high for technician positions. Sometimes people will leave for another consultant in order to like kind of jump up the ranks higher, and turnover is big, so there's always job postings. So definitely look for those. And in terms of COVID-19, it hasn't really affected the business side of things. This past year, my company was busier than it's ever been before. However, we had to follow certain types of protocol. There was definitely a lot more working from home, which is kind of nice. You don't have to commute. You can just walk downstairs right to your office and start working. But it was harder in terms of doing field work, so getting access to buildings, wearing your masks inside, that sort of thing, and just social distancing. So a lot of the time it's hard to, because you're working with drillers, trying to communicate with them, get all the measurements and stuff that you need while you're doing that. And like access to buildings was harder. So a lot of times we'll do a phase one on an apartment building, but because there's so many people that live there, it wasn't really something that a lot of techs wanted to do and that sort of thing. So it has changed a bit because of COVID-19, but we haven't slowed down at all. Things have been going really well. I'm currently on mat leave, so I'm not working at the moment. So it kind of, hopefully those people that we hired are getting a little bit more experience than they normally would. But yeah, so that's kind of the gist of things and what I do. So I hope that was informative, to say the least. And if you have any questions, please forward them to Frank and he can contact me, and I can follow up on any questions you might have. Okay, thanks so much.